Welcome to A Musical Life, episode 37, featuring Gav Bell. Gav started out music on the Gold Coast at school, playing trumpet, trombone, bit of saxophone, and formed a band early on called Rush Hour with a bunch of schoolmates. Now, that band lasted quite a while before Gav went off and did a bunch of different things, which eventually led him to moving to Melbourne and doing gigs down there. And now he's back on the Gold Coast and Rush Hour are performing again. The latest venture that Gav is on is refurbishing a 40-something foot boat where he combines his love of music and his love of boating and is now doing a podcast all about the combination of those two. You've been around the traps for a fair bit,
yeah,
and you've got family in the industry as well.
Definitely.
So you've seen quite a few different parts of the industry. Pardon the rain.
Yeah,
it'll come through a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
It'll be okay.
Yeah.
What got you started in music in the very first place?
So probably in primary school, I went through the instrumental program. So I played trombone, trumpet, all those instruments. That's where I started. So,
because they're difficult instruments to start on, aren't they?
Yeah.
Embrasure and like...
Yeah, well, obviously, from year 5, you had to go through the whole, can you blow this? I had a bad tooth, so I wasn't allowed to play the sax and all this sort of crap. So it's sort of, they test you on all that. So, yeah, this is year 5, year 6, year 7. And that's where... other people that I'll mention through the thing that like Matt and even Stewie Tilsley on the keys, that they were my mates that went through, which was Rush Hour.
Oh, okay.
We all...
So you were all together at school?
We went right through... I started Rush Hour in year 7, which is hilarious. So,
and
we're still playing.
It?
Well, we've just put it back together now. But, yeah, and the thing is, that we all played different instruments. Matt was the only one that was like, I'm drumming and that's it. But Stewie played trombone before he was good at keys. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so we all went through that. And then I think we got into high school and then it became like, we got to play some cool instruments. So it was sort of like we started self-learning, guitar and drums and keys and all that sort of stuff and bass. So that was from that. But going back to your question was... my uncle Ian Bell,
yep.
And he's played with obviously everybody, and and he crafts.
For those people who don't know, he's a great keyboard player.
Yeah, and he's played with all the good greats and done it, and
So some of the people he would have played with would have been
he's Glenn Shorrock, Brian Cadd in that band. The list goes on. All those touring acts like the Renee Gayers and the Ross Wilsons, and then Dave White was Matt White's dad.
Yep.
And he was in their band from Melbourne. Yeah, in year 2, when I first met Matt, we'd all moved to Queensland from Melbourne.
Oh, okay.
And so when we were little, and anyway, my dad saw Dave at some family at a parent thing. And it's like, no way, we played together all around Melbourne together with Ian. And so they were all best mates in Melbourne. Then they moved, and then funnily enough, we were that next generation that went through together. So we were trying to aspire to be like High Octane, which was, BJ and all of them.
Yeah.
And then so it went on. So that's what got us into the music industry was, my dad, Phil and Ian, they were doing like duo work a lot when I was a teenager. And that was sort of what was, that was in the early 90s. That was a lot of the work. And so I was like, I want to start gigging. So then they basically, Ian was sequencing all the music and he's like, I'll take all the guitar out and you be the guitarist. So that's how it started.
Okay.
So so the rest is history. So then I got to that sort of Rush Hour, went on through high school, and we got to the end of high school, and then it became more, all right, boys, we're out doing it ourselves now. So hence that's when I first saw you guys gigging, and then we started on that same circuit. So yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's a while ago now.
Well, that was 98. I got a good memory with that stuff, but 98.
The years get a bit fuzzy for me.
Yeah, no, it's funny because it was they did for me through the middle. That's when we were partying and that. But in saying that, the start I remember, because I started going out when we were 18, and I was watching you guys at the Rosie, at the Sugar Shack, all those.
Oh, wow.
Billy's. My brother was like, he had a spot there, so he was like, we've got a spot over the dance floor. And I used to say to Matt and the boys, you've got to come see the Accidents. They're just their sound, everything's unreal. That's when you had Barnard playing bass. Back then. And then it was funny that Matt ended up playing with you, so because he just never came out with us in the early days. He kept going, you keep raving about these guys. So there you go. The rest was history. So or into into us being adults and sort of working.
Yeah.
So and I mean, even in high school, we actually did a Dixieland jazz band. So that was just next level. So we went to the Rocker Stedfords.
Yep.
And our music teacher in high school, he put us a Dixieland jazz band together, and that was just nuts.
Why?
Did we do that?
Why Dixieland jazz? Why?
Well, so he was our music teacher right through from primary and high school.
Yeah.
And he was like German.
Okay.
And he played every instrument, was absolute freak, could play everything, just like I'm talking James Morrison style.
Good teacher.
Yeah. Oh, he was a bit nuts. Like everyone says that. And even still, you see someone today and Troy Wright, he went through under him.
Yep.
And he goes, oh, we all survived Illy. So I was like, yeah, we did. So that was quite funny. But in year 11 and 12, he's like, you group of boys, which became our rock band, we were all still playing, in the stage band and all that, playing Trombone and Trumpet and all those. And he's like, we've got to do something different so we can, because we're up against the Benoel boys, which was Sean Tatnell and all those guys. And even Guy was in a lot of those groups. And so we were sort of against him. So he's like, we've got to put a Dixieland band together. And we were like, what's that? Because we're in year 11 and 12. So he comes in and puts on Hello Dolly and, all these songs like Basin Street Blues. And we're just there going, what the hell is this? And there's banjo and clarinets going everywhere. So we're sitting there and it was like a real quick education. And he had a blues background, so we used to sort of sit at school and just jam and you'd improvise.
Yep.
And then that's how I think we took that across to our cooler instruments. So then that's why I love blues, because it's back to you can jam with anyone if your blues stuff. So yeah. But anyway, that's the long version of that.
Dixieland jazz. No, I would have never figured that.
No, and it's just funny because we reminisce sometimes. We go, we should put the jazz band back together, and Stewie and that will laugh and just go, there is no chance, because that was pretty hectic music because everything's going. There's no metal. Everyone's going everywhere in it. So yeah. Pretty good fun though. So
yeah, I imagine it would have been
lifetime
great fun.
ago. Yeah. Yep.
So you get out of school and you're out doing the puppy scene, and Rush Hour's still playing?
Yeah, we went right through the 2000s, pretty much like with you guys. And then it was one of those things where there was me, Matt, Stewie and Rick Lyons. So that was the four of us. And then Matt left for a little while and we got Danny. So we still had the same 4 or 5 of us. And then we went through the 2000s, and then basically just, that was when I suppose everything started to change as far as the smoking went out in the early 2000s, and that changed. I felt I never smoked.
Yeah,
but I
never smoked.
But I felt it changed.
Passively I did.
Oh yeah,
for a lot of years.
We did. We sort of, I suppose, pushed the limits and just did that circuit just till it was dying, and went through that period where it dropped off with the smoking and pokies and all that, which you've spoken about on other podcasts.
There's been a lot of changes over the industry. When I first started, there was no such thing as drink driving. Smoking was everywhere. There was no volume restrictions.
No.
It was almost, there were no rules.
No, that's
Go
right.
in, have fun, play whatever you want, as loud as you want, however you want.
Yeah.
There were no rules.
Yeah, just play all right.
There was no one to say, you can't do that, you can't.
Yeah. And my big one, which everyone that plays with me, like I was saying about Kirky, with me having a crack when I play my electric, is that I only want to play with a real acoustic kit.
Yeah.
And it's hard because, as you know, the venues that you've got to play electric kits on, I just sort of cringe at. But you got to do it, I suppose. So.
I mean, it's one of those things. I don't do a lot of gigs these days with an acoustic kit, and it's difficult because it's wonderful fun playing with an acoustic kit. But I've seen so many gigs where I've walked in to the venue and the guy's got an acoustic kit and you're listening and you're going, where's the rest of the band? The volume's been restricted.
Yeah. Yeah,
and the guy's
true,
playing
yeah.
an acoustic kit. It's like, well, where's the guitar?
Yeah.
Where's the bass?
Yeah, well, you can't turn it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the guy's like, sound guy's like, oh, I can't, we're over the volume limit.
Yeah.
And it's like, well.
Yeah. Yeah, that happened to us at a gig. We had Bear playing drums with us that night. And it was a first and last gig, that one, because I'm in there and he loved that I had a crack as well on the guitar. And I remember that it was funny, the argument he had with the junior manager at the time was he went, we did a sound check and they go, nah, the drums are too loud. So I said, all right, for the exercise, play the drums on your own. So he was playing a beat. She goes, nah, these are too loud. And I'm like, that's just the drums. So we turned the master off, the fold, but everything, we killed the PA. And it was just the snare was just going whack. Anyway, he stopped and he had a go at her and said, for the exercise, he grabbed the snare and he goes, crack. And that just went 98, bang, just one hit. And I said, so that's 98 on its own, just the snare like that. And I said, so where do we fit into the under 95, you know? And that was it. So I think that she's like, do the gig and that's it. So we did it and we're never coming back here. So,
it is a difficult thing to work with. There are still places that are dedicated to music, where the restrictions aren't as limiting, and that's a great thing.
Yeah.
It's a shame that there's not as many as there were when I was young.
Yeah.
I
feel like I sort of just missed that.
For you, would you say that music has been good financially to you?
It's funny. So I've played gigs since I was 15 and I really haven't stopped. So it's been, at times, been an only job and at times been a second job. And I think, funnily enough, you know, there's times where I just go, oh, I can't do both. It's killing me. But the funny thing is the music's just always had my back.
You've obviously done, we talked about doing band things and having Rush Hour. What prompted you to go and do solo gigs?
I suppose, like everything with the bands, halfway through that, like I said, through those 2000s when we split up eventually, which was what I didn't finish before with that. It got to the stage where we had a trailer, we had a PA, we all had shares in it, and then it just got very like, well, you've got to take the trailer, and it just got to that thing where, and you know yourself, 3 nights a week we were doing, or 2 nights and a Sunday at Fishers or whatever, and it was like, we were spending more time and going up to Toowoomba and that than we were with our missuses. Like it was, so you were getting to the stage where it was like, oh, I've got to see him again today. So, and I think we're all getting worn out with that after. That was like 8 years straight of that.
I think a lot of people don't realise how much work is involved for someone to stand on stage for a couple of hours.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. And I don't know, like Rush Hour was our band because we were always the same guys, but there was always the same 1 or 2 of us, like, pushing the work and blah, blah, blah. And it does get tiring. And I think that time where it was like, just for example, and it's not pointing a finger at one person in the band because they've got something else, but it was more like the solo thing came about because I'm thinking, I'm knocking back gigs, people are going, come play solo. And I had to sort of establish myself as a soloist the way I do it because I got the kick, tambourine, loop, and I play lead, and so it's all live. But so I had to sort of make that a thing because I was starting to get worn out with, I don't even know who's going to play bass for us tonight, and it does stress you out. Even though people go, you don't even have a set list when you play because everyone knows the stuff, and I go, yeah, but then when you got a new bass player, you go, shit, what's he know? And
that is a difficult thing. When I was younger, there was band loyalty.
Yeah,
that's
right.
And the players have been playing together before anyone actually even went out and did a gig, they might have done a month, 2 months, 3 months of rehearsals.
Oh, totally,
And the band was generally tight.
Yeah.
Even if it was their first gig,
yeah,
they'd already put a lot of time in.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest differences now. There's a lot of bands out there that are thrown together at the last minute.
Oh, totally, yeah. And
the quality's not as good.
No.
The quality suffers because of that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, when I play solo, I do requests from start to finish.
Yep.
That's what I do. And I say I don't do top 40.
Yep.
This is just how I roll. And I've got a pretty young demographic that comes watching. They go, we come watch old Gav because he just plays the rock and stuff, you know, and we can all sing along to every song. And because that generation's now, they're doing what all their parents listen to. You know?
Yeah.
Like 20-year-old girls are going, we want Eagles, Hotel, you know, and you're going, really? I don't want to play Stuck in the Middle again tonight, but if he's going to go off, fair enough. But because it's gone
April
like
Sun in Cuba.
yeah, it's gone
Roadhouse
full.
Blues.
It's gone full circle. So we went and watched Fat Boy Sunday.
Yep.
And it was funny. So I got a ticket given to me, and took my son and his girlfriend as a present for him. And he loves the dance, even though he's drumming. The DJ before was just dun, 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 and I'm like, explain to me what he's doing, mate. What's different? Like in one knob, you know, and not bagging the DJs out there. I said, I want to actually know how it works. He goes, go to a course. I said, I might have to, because I said, I don't want to be an 80-year-old cranky man about this. And then when Fat Boy played, the difference was, I found he did 30 seconds of something and it went into something else, and it was like that for 2 hours. So he was more old school, where it was a lot more melodic, not just dum, dum, the whole time. So his stuff had tempo changes and groove changes, and I actually enjoyed his set.
Yeah.
And they're laughing at me going, you actually think he's, you know, and I'm like, I'm here and I think he's all right. So, but you know, it's one of those things. And what I do say to my son when we have these arguments is, exactly what you said, is there's a point where if you played a song, say in the 90s, like say when Top Loader had Dancing in the Moonlight, and say it was top 40 back then, it was still that sort of disco dance beat, and there was chords you could play. And there was even when it went into Maroon 5 and that, in those days, we were doing Black Eyed Peas and that stuff back at Fishers and that. And the difference was that was starting to become dance music, but as a live band, I say to everyone, you can still play guitar in it.
Yeah.
And then it gets to a stage now where I'm like, I said to my son, where could I fit a guitar in here? Don't be like that. So, yeah, anyway, it's funny. And we know we hang shit on each other, so it's fine. But, yeah, it's just a thing. So,
You're doing a podcast now. What brought that about?
Yeah, so the whole vlog thing with it's a funny, it's a weird story. I went through a fair bit in a few years of my life with, you know, it was a divorce and then split from my ex-girlfriend. Then my daughter went back to her mum, you know, and it was a real weird period where the kids were sort of there, then they weren't. So I was back on my own. And then mum died as well in that time. And that was 2 years ago now. And so everything sort of just went bang at once. And I'm sitting there paying all this rent in this unit going, I'm just sitting here, and it was a beautiful unit looking out on the water, and I'm going, I'm just living to pay my rent. That's all. I'm not even going. I don't do anything. So I was like, all right. And then, long story, I just thought I'm gonna see if I can buy a liveaboard boat. So I thought, and my mum was right into the shows I was saying, like the sailing shows and how they go and travel and do all that.
Yep.
And I thought, you know what am I doing? I'm just you know, everything's just the same. I'm working to pay a bill, and I'm like, that's life. But I'm like, I don't go out, I don't party, I don't do any of this. Everyone goes, but you're partying at your gigs. And I'm like, it's work. It's still work, even though you have a drink there or whatever. But it was one of those things where, yeah. And then I just cracked it and said, all right. And I ended up finding a boat cheap enough. It was a project boat. And I'm like, I'm going to actually do a vlog thing on this and try and incorporate the boat travel thing in the music. But I'm like 8 months or whatever it is, 10 months into it, and I'm still just doing the boat up. So I haven't even started on the music side of it. So that'll be like year 2. But like we said, you know, that might be when the boat thing starts taking off.
Yeah.
Because so I'm sort of going, it's that market, but I'm also looking at, you know, like people go, it's pretty cool that you're a muso, that you live on a boat and you're a plumber. And I'm like, well, it's a bit of everything. So that's why I sort of just let it all out there and go, that's what I do. So,
yeah, it's interesting. I know a few musos who live on a boat. Mason Rack lives on a boat.
I only found that out the other day. Yeah, so apparently he's out and about, yeah.
Jose McLaughlin lives on a boat.
Who's that?
Jose McLaughlin.
Okay.
Jose played in Jerry and the Pacemakers.
Wow.
Come from Liverpool.
There you go, wow.
So he's done the podcast.
Yeah.
He's done it, and he's toured the world and played all of the big stadiums. And
yeah, so it's just one of those things. It might not be forever. It's just for now, and it's I grew up with speedboats and that, but this is the first big boat that I've had.
Yep.
So it's
a lot of learning.
Like I'm plumber muso going like diesel mechanic now. So it's hard, but it's a good challenge. Like ask me to learn a new instrument or a song, and I play a fair few instruments. I'm like, I don't have the patience.
Okay, let's just stop there. Yeah. How many instruments do you play?
Can I play?
Yeah, and at we would say a reasonable skill level.
The guys would be pissing themselves at this. So trumpet, trombone, I can play the odd, never tear solo on the sax when I've had to, or who can it be now? And they're laughing at that. So that would be sort of horn instruments. Trombone, tuba. I started on the baritone, which was like the little tuba. So they were those instruments which I haven't touched for a while. And then self-taught was then the guitar, drums, bass, and keys, so piano. But gig-wise, I can gig on guitar, bass, and I have gigged on drums. Okay. So those three main instruments. So like with Maddie and them, I'm playing either lead guitar or bass when I fill in with them. So yeah.
Okay.
So I got to that level, but got a banjo. The kids when they were little, I said, I want a banjo, I want to learn how to play it, and I think I learnt one chord on it. And tried to do the finger pick thing.
Roll. You got to do the banjo roll.
Yeah, and I tried, and I'm just like, ugh. So it's just patience, and so everyone goes, how do you do it? And you make it look easy when you play guitar, and you're sort of like, yeah.
Right hand technique's a thing, man.
But it took, as you know, when you're young, people go, you make it look so easy singing and playing lead down. I'm like, there's a million Saturdays that I sat in the room to just learn Layla, and and it was like, yeah. So
yeah, it's one of those things. Do you find having to sing and play that you would learn, say, the guitar part and have that to the point where you don't have to think, so that you can concentrate on singing, or would it be the other way around where you don't have to think about the singing, so you can concentrate on the guitar?
Yeah,
because you can't necessarily do both at the same time.
That's a funny one. The only song that I can do that, so I can't do this, whatever that is. The only song I can do it with, and people say, and I'm proud, and it's the only song I'll brag I can do it in, and people say you'd smoke it, is Watchtower. So where Hendrix plays like I don't know if you know, there's that back while he's singing.
Yeah.
And he does like a one riff and then the second riff and then the first riff. And that one took me so long because I had to learn the words enough with the chords and then go, okay, like you said, sing it and then do the riff. That was really hard.
Because the rhythms clash
with it, yeah.
With the vocal and the guitar.
So there must be some diddle-doo-doo out of here, diddle-doo-doo. Like, so it's like your head's fighting with your hands, and so that's the only song that really pushes you. But in saying, when you do it enough, you're all right. So it's it's a funny thing. So other than that, stuck in the middle, that's easy.
You've had a wife and you've got kids. How did you find integrating playing music and having a family? How did that go? But I would imagine, like you were saying, if you're working a day job and doing 3 nights a week, you're not spending very much time at home.
No, so it worked. A lot of people, and I've even had arguments with a few, not saying females that go, well, clearly you weren't there or whatever, but it actually worked pretty well. I was married for 13 years, and it worked pretty well where at the start, we moved to Melbourne when the kids were really little,
mm-hmm.
and I did 2 years of just gigging full time. Like I was doing 5 nights a week, 2 weddings on the weekend, killing it, just solo,
mm-hmm.
and that was unreal. And I was like, I always wanted to do that with the band from the early days, but the band where I was like, oh, funny, and I'm like, let's go to Melbourne, because that was where it was all happening.
Yeah,
and they were like, oh, and that's one thing I probably regret not doing. But then again, I don't, because then I wouldn't have got married and had the kids and all that. So I went and did that, and for that period when the kids were really little, my wife at the time, she went back. She sort of had the kids obviously at home, and I was just gigging enough. But then she wanted to go back to work, so she did retail and I did the nights. So we sort of tag team with the kids, and it worked really well while they were still little. And then as the kids got older, funnily enough, I taught her the bass, and then when I couldn't get bass players, I ended up doing the Gav Bell band, and that was just me, Danny, my old drummer, and her on the bass. So, and it's funny, we were saying about the akadaka, I taught her, she wasn't even a musician, and I just taught her root notes, and people, bass players out there going, you know, but taught her 4 on the floor, and then she actually got quite good, where Danny's like, I like playing with her, because it gave him room, because she was just do all night, and it gave me lots of room to do whatever I wanted as well. Taught her dynamics, and just, so we basically, so then she just started gigging with us, so then I was spending time with her, say 2 nights a week. We were going out, have dinner, play a gig, and it worked well. And the kids were old enough, they were like, we're going to grandparents, whatever. So that it worked really well. But the reason it broke down are other reasons. It wasn't actually related to that, because when it broke down, our marriage broke down, it was more that I wasn't gigging as much. I was still doing solo gigs, but I'd started my plumbing business like when I was 38. So, and then it was just clash of careers, because so it wasn't technically the music that broke it down. So I'm proud that I could manage it. And like I said, when she was pregnant with Jimmy, I was like, and then when she had him, he wouldn't sleep. I was doing plumbing apprenticeship, which I started at 24, so it was late.
Yeah.
And that was when we were working like those mega nights. So we were doing 3 rush hour nights, and me and Matt were doing duos at Gilhooly's. And so we were doing nearly 4 gigs a week.
Yeah.
And so I was finishing my apprentice in the sun at 5 in the afternoon, go home, you know, let her have a sleep, have the kids, and then I'd go to the gig. So I was just, I don't even know. I say to the kids now, I don't even know how I did it, but you have to.
Yeah.
And back then it was like, you know, you just grabbing at straws for money, and So yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Short story long. That's what I think. Yeah.
If there was a highlight of all of the things that you've done, what would you say would be one thing that you would go, I'm so grateful that I got to do that thing?
That's awesome question, and one that I am so proud of, and I was very lucky. To me, and I've taught the kids, it's a very where you are at the time. That's life. Not just, you know, it is who you know. It's a bit of everything, but definitely where, like, at that time, grab that or whatever. And I was really lucky through, like I said earlier, how we were, me and Matt and all them through high school were playing in all the horns. So when I come out of high school, I was in year 12, 17. I was still all right trumpet player. We still get up there, you know, not just playing, you know. And we... Dave White, Matt's dad, had High Octane, and they were the backing band for Renee Gayer, Shorik, Cad, all them, Doug Parkinson. I went over to my brother's wedding when I just turned 18 in 98, and Dave goes to Matt, we have you on congas in the bigger lineup, and we need horns. And they used to have Peter Upman and who else? Dangerous Dave. So Dave White they're both Dave Whites, which is just insane. Like, they got the same name. But he goes, we've got Dangerous Dave on the sax. Who else do you know? And Matt's gone, Gav plays trumpet. And we were just driving in the car one day, and he goes, oh, you do too? He goes, it looks like I've got a big gig for us. And I'm like, shit, I've never really played trumpet in a working band. Or just in a school band. Yeah. And so I was like, okay. And so I went over to the wedding. I had 2 weeks to learn this stuff. And he goes, take this cassette with you. Because it's a cassette. And he goes, I've got two or three of every artist we're playing with songs. And so it's for the 98 Indie Ball.
Oh, okay.
And it was Renee Gayer, Doug Parkinson, who was it? Glenn Shorik. And then the international acts were Thelma Houston and the Temptations.
Wow.
So Temptations obviously were their own band. They had like a 16-piece. That was unbelievable. But we got to play. So we were the house band for those 4. Yep. So we had to learn, you know, their 3 songs each. And then we did a set before and after, like a Blues Brothers set. So it ended up being me on trumpet and my mate Jay on the sax and Dangerous Dave. So it was just 2 saxes and a trumpet. And so I just turned 18. I've walked into like, you know, you've got their musical directors. And because like, you know, there was a few of them that were like, well, they're not going to be here for another hour, so they're telling you how to play this and that. And then they'd just roll in for half an hour into this rehearsal room and go, let's run the stuff once. And we'd heard, rumours through my uncle and everyone about, oh, good luck with Renee, So, and my uncle Ian wasn't in High Octane at the time. David Atkins was, DA.
Yep.
And, so that's why Ian wasn't there. And, so he said, oh, good luck with that. And some of the stories about even the rehearsal where she just tore shreds off, like Joe Williams on the drums and BJ, she's sit down, you little man. And, she was tough. So, but she liked us horn section because we just sat there like mice. We're not going to say anything. They're like, yeah, you're playing good over there, you horns. Shut up, sit down. So that was probably my proudest gig ever and it was probably my first on a big stage, at the Marriott, just going, we do these corporate gigs now, but it was back then I was like that with my trumpet, just going, shit, I'm standing behind Glenn Shorrock. So, and then we did a few gigs with them over the years, and then you get to know them, and they're just, you can't believe they're actually, you hear LRB on the radio, and you're like, I can't believe you just talked to him. He's actually the nicest dude you've ever spoken to. So, because you see, it's like media, they can paint anyone how they want.
Oh,
so,
yeah. The greatest thing about those sort of experiences is you learn so much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's that thing where you feel the pressure it's that you're either the person that can step up,
yeah,
or you can't. And it's pretty quickly you find out who the people who can step up and do the job and who can't.
Definitely, yeah. No, it's and like you said, it's funny because you shit yourself at the time. I was so young to go on a stage with them, and a funny story, we were in the green room with the Temptations, and the only original one was Dennis Edwards, and he's there with Thelma Houston, and I'm like, can I get an autograph? And they're like, you're on the trumpet in and I'm like, you know what I mean? Thelma Houston, don't leave me this way. When I put that on the car, I'm like, I'm not playing with her. And they're like, yeah, so we had to do the horn, baby, diddle it in it. And it was just pinch yourself shit.
Yeah.
And anyway, Matt was always a smart ass, and we're in the green room. Temptations are there. I've watched their movie. I've shown my kids the movie and everything. And they're there putting their tuxes on before they went out. And Matt walks up to one of them. He's like, hey, bro, I've got to fix your collar, mate. Yeah, like that, And we're 18, and I'm like, what are you doing? So it was still, you look back and go, I can't believe you did that to one of the Temptations. Matt's like, hey, his collar was, it was like, nah, crazy.
He was being helpful.
Yeah, but being a good smart ass too, so we all got to laugh. So.
Conversely, what's something that's happened along the way that you would go, okay, that was a bad decision, or not even a decision, something that happened that you go, oh God, I wish that hadn't happened, or I wish that I'd made a different decision?
We went bankrupt when the kids were, after we did Melbourne, we lost their unit up here and declared bankruptcy. And that was a massive learning curve, because to get to that point where I sat there with my wife and went, we had car debts and this and that. And we're like, we've just got to. And that was a real low point. And then, but even when we went to Melbourne, and everyone knows the story, I had the Mellencamp show happening, tribute show. And we got that up. Dave was managing it. We got it up to a really good level. And then a lot sort of went on in the band, and it got very, he said this, she said that, and I didn't like it. And I was a lot more hot-headed back then. So I sort of just went, F this, I'm out. So I quit everything that I'd built. I quit Rush Hour, I quit the Mellencamp show. I just went bankrupt, and my wife at the time said, we'll take the kids, we're going to Melbourne, we'll start again. And I went down there, I cancelled Facebook, cancelled Instagram, told a few people that we knew that's what we were doing, and we fell off the face of the earth. And people go, Jesus, how did you do that? I did that, and it was hard, but it was, funny thing was, it was probably the best thing I could have ever have done as a new dad. It was just about me, my wife, and my kids, and that's just all we did. And I was just gigging, so I'd done my apprenticeship, so I pretty much finished it at 28 years old and then went, I'm out. So I was qualified, but I'd had enough of the day-night thing. And so I went down there, and I absolutely loved it, just killed it, gigged, and So that's when that was, a real low point, but then we had to rebuild from there. So then I come back and I had to mend a lot of bridges, and I openly rang everyone that, I'd said F off. Matt, everyone, my old band. And then Matt's like, oh, mate, we'll get you for a fill-in with the band because Rush Hour had sort of morphed into Carpet Ride with more players and Kate and everyone.
Yeah.
And I sort of just went, all right, whatever, leave it. And then when I come back, Matt's, we were all sort of cool, and I said, I'll come back and just fill in. I wasn't a permanent fixture, I wasn't going to cut anyone's grass, just wanted to have a lash again. And then, because when I come back, we lived in Bundaberg for 2 years, and I just gigged up there like Abby Scott.
Yeah.
So she's just doing pretty much the circuit I was doing. And that was a real simple life as well. Like the rent was $180 a week, and I was doing, gigs for $400 a night, just going an hour drive. So I love that, but the floods wiped that out, and then I had to come back and get day work again. So
that prompted the move back here.
Well, I moved back to Brisbane when the kids were little because my wife's parents were there, and I'd still had I had to mend bridges even with my family.
Yeah.
So we were very like, we're not going back to the coast. So we went to Brisbane, which I always hated Brisbane as a footy player, like AFL player.
Yeah.
We hated Brisbane, but I ended up going there, and I look at it now and I don't hate the place because it was so good to us while the kids were little.
Yeah.
Like I got a good day job I was working for a pool company, got back, sort of wanted to go back into the plumbing. And then I started getting sort of more solo work, but the solo gigs I picked up ended up all being back down here. So everything gravitated back towards the Gold Coast, because obviously then everyone's like, Gav, you're back. I haven't seen you for 6 years. And it was sort of like, and it's weird, like everything, you go into a venue and be like, has anything changed? Like I feel like I've been around the world, and it hasn't.
It's just less venues.
Yeah, well, that was it. But just going to a gig setting up, nothing felt like it changed.
So yeah, going bankrupt. What's involved in going bankrupt?
Like I said, we basically were just struggling with repayments for the unit. We had a unit, we got when we were young, and it was that. And like I said, then we got car loans, and a car blew up, and then we got another car loan, and it just got worse and worse. So it was we just couldn't.
Debts to the bank.
Yeah, and we just couldn't make it, and it was like I was working day and night, my wife was working days, and it was just like, it just felt like you just couldn't get out of it. Yeah.
Couldn't get on top of the bills.
So it was just one of those things where, you just got to that stage. So it was basically just like hand the cars in, it's funny now, but it's just like, all right, there's the keys to everything. And lucky enough, we were renting in Melbourne, and we just started again. So
does that ever come back to bite you on the bum?
Not now. It's obviously it's a 7-year thing, and you get out of that. It's more, I suppose it's more just keeping in your head that it's not hard to fall behind.
So you've had experience at that now, so I guess it's that.
Well, I've struggled the last few years.
You can see the warning signs.
Since my divorce, I've struggled a bit financially, and then hence, like I said, then going and doing the boat thing, because to me, people go, oh, you got a boat, you just throw money in the ocean. It's like, well, I got the boat for a steal. And my knowledge of my trade and everything, and people I do know that are helping me, I should make money on that. So that's my way of, like now, when I say to the kids, you can't, 10 years ago, go and get a unit because it's 200,000. Now it's 800,000. So whereas with me, my boat was sort of like a stepping stone where the boat wasn't 300,000. So hopefully that that'll dig me out of that. And then, and just trying to enjoy life and stay healthy, because stress it's not good.
No, it's not.
Yeah, you can hide it, and but that's why I say on my channel everything, I just go blah, because people go, I can't believe you got on there and said your dinghy floated away, and it's like, well, it's entertaining to someone, even though I just put another year on my age this morning because I lost a boat. But so stuff like that. But
that's another lesson learned.
Oh yeah, just keep coming. So yeah.
What do you see happening for you in the next 10 years? Still gigging?
Yeah, that's a great question. I so definitely won't be plumbing. Ideally, even though this boat vlog and everything came about and it was just like this midlife, like snap, I'm going to do that.
Yep.
It does excite me. So 10 years ago, you would have said, you're going to go buy a 40-foot boat, live on it and want to travel and take your music around the world. And I'm like, oh, yeah, nuts, but it's happening. So ideally, like I said, I'm working on the boat at the moment, but I want to incorporate the music into that, so that then if you got people following me, say for the boat, then you got people. I know I've got people following me for music. Then they might entwine and go, okay, where are you going? Where are you going on your boat to play now? So that's my sort of goal, and hopefully travel with the kids and get it to a stage where I can go, kids, we're going to go travel for a month. You can fly back if you got uni, school, whatever it is, and just give them, I don't know, more opportunity than money. That's what I can give them. What I have forever is give them time.
Give them an experience.
Yeah, time and experience and lessons and having fun and not going, well, that was a quick life, because that's how it seems to be going. So
it gets quicker and quicker.
Yep. Hopefully travelling a bit with the boat, and even if I've moved on to another boat or upgraded, or that's sort of a plan, but everything can change in a heartbeat, whether it's health or relationships or, what happens with kids. And, yeah, we'll just see what happens. So
we talked a little bit earlier on about health and certain body parts not functioning the way that they used to. What health issues have you had along the way? Has alcohol played a big role in your life?
I'm laughing.
The only reason I ask that is because it's an interesting thing that music and alcohol, unfortunately, have a strange relationship, especially in this country, because in order for us to earn a living, we generally play in establishments that sell alcohol.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, there were riders that we basically didn't have to pay for alcohol. You could drink as much as you wanted.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think that led to some people having problems with alcohol.
Yeah.
And it is one of the traps that the music industry, I think people in the music industry suffer from, is the trap of being or becoming an alcoholic.
Yeah, so with me, and speaking openly, I still, we laugh about it. And like I said, my crew, like Matt would be pissing himself because he always says, I'll go, I got a blood test and my liver's great. And he's like, how? Right? And then he goes, he's like, I love you like a brother. I'll always give you mine. We joke about it because he never drank as much. Anyway, my thing is I've got regrets with not being an alcoholic, but I'd say there's been a few times I can pinpoint, like at a gig where I was like, there was one gig at Surface, was it the Diggers upstairs from Melbourne? One gig we did I went to Indy all day, and people know me, just go, no way. And I got that pissed all day at the Indy, watching you guys and everything. And my drummer was with me, Danny at the time, the other drummer, and he's going, we've got to stop, you got the gig. And I'm like, I'm fine, I can play pissed, And I got there, and I remember we started with Hotel California, started the intro, and I was like, beam on it, and I was like, oh, and then I just went blank, and I'm like, this has never happened in my whole life. I must have been mid-20s, and I'm like, whoa. So luckily Rick's mate, Pete, was it Fernand? Oh, Pete.
Pete Finesse.
Pete, yeah. He was there and having a drink, and he goes, I'll do the gig. And I went, it's all yours. And that was one gig I remember that it ever happened, where I went, shit, that's bad. So, and obviously we didn't get the gig again. But yeah, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny at the time. And I was like, oh shit. So that's probably the only thing that's really happened bad as far as that goes. And other than, a few times at venues where they've gone, oh geez, the band, he's got a bit pissed, and you're like, yeah, well, that was in 10 years, I suppose 2 or 3 bad raps wasn't too bad. So
yeah,
but not that it's a thing, but yeah, we never had a problem in our band with, I quit or someone quit or someone wouldn't show up or any of that.
And fighting because of...
No. Well, we actually did. When I said...
It's one of the things that I've seen quite a bit of problematic people, and the problem generally comes along when there's been too much...
Oh, totally.
Alcohol.
When Rush Hour split, and now that you mentioned that, was... Same thing, and I know, and I'm guilty of it, but me and Danny were like, we're getting on the piss tonight, Matt, take the trailer home. And it started getting like, we took the trailer home last night. We're like, yeah, but we're kicking on tonight. And so that did happen. But like I said, no excuses for that. because everyone has their different times to do it. But then that was getting at the end of the cycle. Like we were really getting worn down, and I think that's probably why me and Danny stuff it.
So
you know,
a way of escape.
It was like a self-sabotage in a way of going, well, we're just getting on the piss. If we all have a fight and it breaks up, it's probably at that stage anyway. And I think it sort of was. And and we've had that much time where everyone's playing with everyone else now that now we want to play together, and that's got that good feeling back. So, and you grow up and you learn, and, and as a player, you sort of, I don't know, you feel like you get better in certain parts and, struggle in others, and yeah.
How do you find you go with your vocals? Do you, is it something that you ever do any lessons or do any training vocally?
No, I'm only laughing because I never did, and I should have. I belted out, and my range is quite all right. And I definitely don't look after my voice. I know that. Like it's even huskier today because I did that rush hour gig the other night. And my solo gigs, I could do 400 of them because I manage it the way I'm only playing over me. So if I feel like I'm too loud, I turn my vocals up. Where in the band, you're going to get to a certain stage where it's like now everyone's whacking it and I can't get any louder. So I usually I've joked about it forever, and it'll probably bite me in the ass one day where I go, just give me a beer and I'm sweet. So but I don't drink water or any of that. I'm pretty much like, it's just, yeah. So that's how I've been, and I've been lucky. And I had my voice checked when I went to Melbourne, and because I was worried because it was getting huskier and huskier, and I didn't smoke. And everyone goes, geez, you sound like a smoker. And I was like, no. So I got it checked. This was probably 10 years ago now, so I should. And they go, no, there's no sign. All it was red. There was no sign of nod, like anything.
Swelling.
Yeah. So they just said, no, that's just wear and tear. And yeah, so, and I dated a singer that was a singing teacher in Brisbane. And she goes, and I cried. I rang the guys crying, laughing one night. She goes, you've actually got a good technique. And I just lost it and was like, I just think I'm a hack of a singer, but it works. But anyway, it's, yeah.
Got a lucky break.
Yeah, well, like I said, it might bite me in the ass later. But
do you use in-ear monitors, or you used to?
I hate, anyone knows me, I hate them. And then like the guys in Carpet Ride, so they all love them. They've all got really good ones. I played with them in band a few years ago, and I shouldn't say I hate them. Like I use them if I have to, if they don't have wedges. I've had say the 10 times I've used them in Carpet Ride there, I've had 3 or 4 good nights where it was just amazing, and I was like, this is unreal. But then I've probably had 6 or 7 other times where I'm like, I'd rather just not have them in. And I'm a player that I don't play through a lot of effects. I play pretty raw through. So I basically got the same setup in the early days as Colin Hill. He basically, because he was high octane, and I grew up playing on his guitar when we got up as school kids having to go with high octane, and I basically said, I want your setup. So I got the Strat through the triple lead Marshall through the MIDI mouse. That was the setup. So you had your Digitech, and that's all I had. So that was just for delay and that. And then I had me triple lead Marshall, so I only had lead, rhythm, and clean.
A clean sound, a crunch sound, and
that's
a
it. So
sound.
I learnt to play like that. So I learnt to play a lot off my volume.
Yep.
So if I was on the lead, I'd just pull it back because I was singing. You just pull that back rather than doing all that.
It is a lot harder to do that when you're wearing in-ears.
Yes,
it's a lot harder to make the judgment call about, is my guitar loud enough, or if I back the volume off, it doesn't translate as well through your ears.
I'm glad you said that, because I feel like I have not arguments with Matt and all these guys, and they're like, you just got to get a good set. And I'm like, they know, and I've spoken to Matt a million times about it. He knows that I am an amp player, so I find that even if I've got, so the only distortion pedal I've got's a tube screamer, and so that gives it that edge, but not like a distortion channel. Yeah. Anyway, the thing is, I don't know, I just find if you back the volume off and you're too quiet, you don't get that chink, chink, chink sound. And then you get the shits because you're trying to sing and it's not behind you how you want. So when I play with them and I use them, I don't sing. So that's fine, but I still stand there all night just struggling, trying to get that exact sound. And, you know, I've had times even in the band where, you know, a few of the guys will be like, are you playing in this song? You know, and I'm like, I am, but I'm trying to get that level right. Because you got the sound guys going, we want your amp on 0 and, you know, because you've got in-ears. And I'm like, yeah, but I need to make the air move a little bit. So
it is one of those things I have found, and having a recording studio and doing live recordings of myself and other people, I use a Kemper.
Yeah.
Now, potentially...
I'd love to get into that,
potentially,
but I just,
you can plug that straight in, no speakers, not plugged into an amp or anything like that. And it's one of the things that I've learned that I've played through the Kemper through several amp setups.
Yeah.
And really do like the Kemper cab setup that I'm using now. But the guitar does this thing where when you have it with an amp turned up to a certain level, the strings ring and vibrate and resonate in sympathy with the sound of the amp blowing air.
Yeah.
And the sound of it in the PA, the sound of it recorded, is very different than if you don't have that amp turned on.
Oh, 100%.
You can actually tell the difference. So and it is one of those things. It's a symbiotic relationship between the guitar and the air blowing out of an amp.
Definitely.
Out of the speakers.
And my other amp, which is it's still on the sidelines at the moment because I haven't had it fixed, it's a Crate Vintage Club. Mm-hmm. And it's got 3 10s in a triangle. It's a real weird, so it's like a big cabinet, but it's got 3. It's real setup. Weird setup.
I used to have a Fender Vibra King.
Yeah, okay.
I love that amp. It was a beautiful,
Similar,
beautiful
like a
amp.
tall
310.
It's like a tall combo.
Yeah.
And anyway, and the guys, whenever I've bought that at a gig, it was either that or the Marshall. And whenever I bought that, the guys would go, oh shit, here we go. Because it had one channel, it had clean and dirty. So it was like off or on. And to move those 3 of those speakers, you had to have it 3 or 4 at least, out of 10, to get jink, jink, jink.
Yeah.
And where if you held a note, it'd sustain. And it wasn't, because you turn the gain up to 10, it'd just flood out and it was a shit sound.
Yeah.
So you almost found that the more volume, less gain, it'd really start to go. And just to have
where
that,
you want it.
You roll it off.
That's where you want it.
Just that taking off point.
Yeah.
And I've watched a million Stevie Ray Vaughan things, and he was you watch him talk about that you need that moving, and it sounds cliche to say, Hendrix fed back the speakers because it was the air in that, and as far-fetched as he was doing it with all the cabs, it's still a thing because he had a sweet point. He played a lot of clean stuff that people don't realise, Hendrix, like a lot of that like clean shit.
Yeah.
But everyone just sees him as doing Voodoo Child and that, where it's just messy. But that's because he's just gone whack. But when he pulled it down, and a lot of his concerts and that was so clean, and because he had that sweet spot, the difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just a personal thing to me, you know. So so people, when they see that amp come in, they're like, "Have you fixed the crate?" And I'm like, "No, it's still getting fixed." They're like, "Don't fix it." But it's that because I play a Clapton Blackie. And that's that combination, like a good Fender amp, is just crystal clear. So
have you tried using the Perspex screen in front of the amp?
No, and I've seen like obviously Mossy and them that are allowed as that a lot of them use it. But I haven't done that yet. So yeah, should be it.
You should look into that. Well, the crate might not be as big a problem for you.
Oh no, yeah, no, definitely. Well, even we joke about it and everyone's like, bring the crate, but put it in the green room and play. Like, yeah, crank it up. Like we did Twin Towns. I filled in with Matt and them the other week, and I had to put my Marshall. I think I only had it on. So to get that working good, it's at least 1 o'clock, and I reckon I had that at not 10 o'clock, and he's going, that's still too loud, and I wasn't even getting clean, just nothing out of it. Yeah. So I ended up having it near the front of house facing backwards. And even then I just had a shit of a night where you're like, oh. So I have my, I've got like a small Boss pedal that I have as a backup. And I just went nights like that, I just ditched the distortion channels and go, I'm using the Boss distortion just to get gain out of it. But I don't love that sound, but it's, So yeah,
it's not the same as an amp breaking up.
No, that's right. Yeah. So and it's sad because the times are changing, and like your sound's just ridiculously just perfect. You know what I mean? But
Well, I don't know about it perfect. It's a compromise, but it's the best compromise that I've found.
you can do, yeah. And that's the thing. I haven't put time into doing that, where I've just been a bit old school going, well, I'm not getting the band gigs at the moment, so put the Marshall away and we'll worry about it when we get gigs. So yeah, it's but no, I love hearing about the different setups, and I just haven't had the patience time and patience to the Kemper thing.
It did take me. I mean, and I've tried the Helix and I tried the Fractal stuff, and I've owned all of them. And at the same time, for a while, it did take me at least 3 months of spending time with it every day and tweaking things, and then I'd go and test it maybe at a solo gig and have a backup just in case then I'd use it for a set and go, oh, it's still not right. And the great thing about the Kemper is it's like, I want to play through that amp, and I want to play a clean sound through the Fender Deluxe. I want to play a dirty sound through a Bogner or a Marshall and so you've got a lot of choice.
Yeah.
And sometimes a lot of choice is not necessarily a good thing.
That's my problem. There's too much to choose
so
from.
I ended up doing a thing where I was like, hey, as long as I've got, and it's that similar thing to you with the 3-channel Marshall, as long as I've got a really good clean sound, a good crunch sound, and a good heavier overdriven sound, then it's just a case of going, okay, well, make sure that the levels are setting right, and do you want to have a chorus pedal or a delay pedal and variations of effects. And everything else you can get from those three.
Yeah, that's what the combinations. Yeah, and the pickups, obviously. Because my other guitar, which I'm actually enjoying it at the moment because the pot's stuffed on my Blackie. But I've got my first guitar, my guitar I got in year 11, first good guitar I got was, it was a 40th anniversary Strat. And that went through Graham at Guitar World back when I was still in high school, put EMG humbuckers in it. And it was an animal, and it had like a go switch, like it was like on, and it was like, so that was good, but it was a very one trick pony. So I then went from that, so that just sat there for years where I'm like, this is not doing it for me. And then my ex-wife and kids as a present got me / El Nico 2 humbuckers, and I've got them in it. And I got what's his name at Paddington, the guitar, Rowan, up there. Anyway, he put them in, and so now on that back pickup, it's got that sort of. It's never going to be a Gibson sound, but it's quite
got that
thick.
edgy.
Yeah, it's quite chunky, and when you go down to the bottom pickup, obviously it just cuts your head off. So it's definitely different to that. And then you go back to the Blackie, and it's like it's just squeaky clean, it's almost, even though it's got the boost. But yeah, it's So between the two of them, I always wanted a Gibson, just never got one. So, and my dream guitar's a 335. Because I'm a massive fan of Warren Haynes and or the Tedeschi trucks, Allman Brothers, the newer Allman Brothers, not the old one, where it was more or before Greg died, but when the OTL on bass and all these, that's what I absolutely love. They got the two drummers and they just go for it. So they're always going. They've got the when they set up, they've got their the little walls between their cabinets and like the Black Crows. It's probably my favourite band. And they've got the walls, which I just love, between their where they stand. And they've got their own little cubicle. It's quite cool. So they're really whacking it.
If you had to make the choice between doing a solo gig or a band gig, what would you prefer?
Band in a heartbeat. I say it every day to everyone. Everyone's like, you do so well with the solo. And I'm like, nah. You just can't get that vibe of when a band's cooking, like the other night when it's going, you just can't beat it. So you can do, most of my solo gigs, are just, I'll have 50 people here at the thing just going off, right? And they're in your hand. You're still not getting that, you know what I mean, out of it. So
there's a shared energy or a shared vibe, I guess I guess that's the thing too. Yeah, there's something special about sharing that with other people as well.
Yeah, definitely. And because you have moments and you did you hear that? Or, and I heard even John Mayer said on an interview, he goes, we've got this, I don't know if you ever heard it. He goes, we've got this funny way of when someone does something good on stage, we laugh. because it's that good, and people don't know what you're laughing at. You don't go, oh, that was a good drum roll. Yeah. You just laugh and go, wow, that was shit hot, because you're laughing. So like you said, you're getting that little bit of I don't know, that was exciting. And like I said the other night, like I think I was playing No Secrets with Kirky, and we're winding up in the last solo, and he's going up the frets, and it was just, we were both absolutely peaking, and it was just at that moment, the rest of the song there, but at that moment it was like bang. We're really smoking it here. So yeah. You have those times, and playing solo, like I said, people go, I take it for granted, because people go, it must be so good just going, say, yeah, and the whole venue goes, yeah. Or that, you know what I mean? You go, like, and the whole venue's like that. It's, you do take it for granted, because then I get the shits if it's not like that one night. So I do a Thursday night and I'm like, where are you bastards? So yeah, it's.
What sort of rooms do you play in for solo gigs versus band gigs? Are they the same rooms, or are they is it a very different experience?
Not at the moment. So the last few years where it's just pretty much been solo, and like I said, I'm filling in. I've been playing a lot of filling gigs at the corporate gigs. So that obviously that's so different, because I'm playing a lot of these little brewery bars and that, where it is, probably 50, 100 people just packed into a tiny room. And that's an awesome vibe, because it's just going to go off. And the same thing, I can give it a fair whack without getting in trouble, because the room's not empty.
So there's two things, I guess. A room full of people create a certain amount of ambient noise.
Definitely.
But they also soak up a lot of noise.
Yeah, exactly. And when you start a gig where, like when I'm down at Precinct and it's the start of the night and everyone's just spread out talking and it's like a tin shed, that's when, and they're going, still loud. I'm like, I haven't even turned on, It's my talking volume.
Yeah. And it's the sound of the room.
Yeah. And you think, oh shit, I'm up against it. And then I'm like, come on. And then you get people further up, and then you can feel that deadening. So then you start going, all right, pump it up a little.
Absorption units.
Yeah. That's great. Cause then I start going, now I can feel the kick in my sub, and I can hit the guitar, and it's got a bit of thump. Yeah, definitely mega different venues. So that's why I crave now playing in a band again, even though, like I said, we all got over it, and now it's gone the other way where it's like, get me on a stage. So yeah, but it is, yourself, it's different playing your acoustic, even though I play lead at my solo gigs with just a loop, and you're still playing Hotel California and all that stuff. So you're still pushing yourself every night. But it's still like playing the other night, Hotel, on that setup, and I hadn't played that for 8 months with that sound going. And I don't, like, because I'm on the boat, I don't have my gears in a shed, so I don't practice. So I was just like, hope this all works. And it's like, think the gain's where it needs to be, and yourself, once you go, it's like, I'm not tweaking this and this and this.
No.
Like,
particularly in something like that, a song like that.
Yeah, and my son goes, I saw you before. It was the Angels, No Secret, whatever it was near the end. He goes, I saw you go over and just bump the gain. Like, he saw me, and I said, I just turned the gain up just so I didn't have to adjust it while I was playing the solo. He goes, yeah, right, Dad. So, yeah. So a bucket list thing with me would be when people say, what's your goal? What do you want to do? I suppose it comes in when you said your next 10-year plan.
Yeah.
I sort of got stuck into the covers from 15, and that was this like, why don't you do your own music? Because I'm getting like $400 for a gig. Just do originals. What do you get for that? A can of Coke. So, you know what I mean? It was very like unappealing to change over. And yourself, you get stuck in a groove. It's like, I've a million times gone, I want to get out of, I just don't want to do solo gigs for, there's times where I've even said to venues, don't book me for a few months. Just, I need a break or whatever. And that's where people go and do originals. And that's like, but then same thing. Oh, I missed that 400 and that 300 and that 400. So that's a thing. Bucket list thing for me would be recording like a blues album.
Yep.
And people go, well, you're writing stuff. I'm like, nah, I'm 44 and I don't write shit. But the thing is, I like driving here on the way, driving home, I get on my boat. All I do is you'll just hear blues cranking 24/7. Like, my kids are like, Dad, don't put blues on again. Like, because that's just me. And I'm talking Robert Johnson right through Allman Brothers, Black Crows, like every style. And I got a pretty broad, messed up range. Like, if I have my thing on shuffle, it'll be Old Crow Medicine Show, wagon wheel crap to Robert Johnson to Rage, So it's very different.
Diverse.
And I just, like I said, the only thing I don't do is hardcore dance, even though I went to Fat Boy.
It is possible to play a whole set of blues stuff and play an incredibly diverse range of material and not have it all sound the same. Because I think that's the biggest thing that people are critical about blues music is it's all the same. It all sounds the same.
Yeah,
it's boring.
Well, like you said, it's
not boring.
Yeah, well, it's like you said, we were chatting before we started, but the thing people have in their heads is that dunk-a-dunk-a-dunk-a-dunk-a-dunk all night. It's not like that. And that's
well, it doesn't have to be.
No, and that's it can be.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, but like I said, that's why I love the newer Allman Brothers, because their song example, "Woman Across the River," it changes tempos and styles through the song, so it's full in the song, and there's the stops and starts, and it's just so full on. And it's like you can't listen to 5 minutes of a song of theirs where it hasn't changed. And it's they do a lot of the jam band stuff, which that then goes on for. That's when you go next song. But in saying that, some of their good stuff, it's just so tasty. So that's what I mean. If I want to do my blues stuff, I do want it to be a bit where it's like Gav's doing a blues thing finally, and it's like I don't want it to be like and it's shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Or too generic.
Yeah, that's right. Where it's just like He sounds like CCR playing blues or something, I don't want to, So that's pretty much it.
You want to inject some personality into it.
Yeah, and as I say, I can't play half as, and I'm going to say it straight off, I can't play half as good as you and Dougie and that, but I've got definitely my own style, and it's the way, I'm more of a, people say, who do you play? Like, I'm probably more of a Clapton. Like, I'll play tasty and feel it and sound it, but I'll never shred. So that's just how I play. Like, I'll get the sound out of it. And like I said, if I don't get the sound out of it, I got the shits, and I won't want to do a solo. So that's where, so I'm very basic, but it's more about that's cooking, So yeah.
All right, well, at that point, I think we'll say thank you very much, Gav.
Legend, thanks, heaps.
Thanks for coming and spending some time today.
No, awesome.
Thank you very much for watching the podcast. Hopefully we'll all see you on the next one. Thanks,
Sweet.
Gav.
Cheers, mate.
See you later, Ron.
Thanks.